That's unfortunate. I am sorry, folks. My internet died. So, hey, we're back. All right. Should be good now. I
Yeah.
hope I don't lose internet again. I was like, what's going on? Um, cool. So, yeah, people are back. I really don't know what happened. So I trimmed mine down. I while I was talking, this happened. I don't think I can trim down the extra two. I think I'm gonna stick with seven. I gotta. I gotta talk about some of these. Some of these I've already talked about though, so I'll be very short with them if that makes sense. And maybe even recently.
I just trimmed off the things that I probably would have spoken briefly about anyway, because I just talked.
Well, they're for me they're pretty. I don't know. We'll get into it. So Pan, how about you? Well, we had the longer one, so so Sasha and I will start off. I'll just go ahead and start. So for one of the this is like a life achievement thing. It's a lot less more. It's still video game related, but it's not like there is an achievement for that. But I this is my first video game I ever beat, and I was 4 years old, and that was Super Mario Brothers 2 on the NES. Now there's a like my grandmother. She always supported whatever I did. My parents did too, and I wanted to show my grandmother this game because like I thought it was so cool. Super Mario Brothers 2. I was like, it's Super Mario Brothers, but it's a better one. And keep in mind, this is the one. It's like the Doki Doki Panic reskin. So the throwing the radishes and everything. Um, so I was like, but I can't beat this level. And it started this thing, this trend that I had when I was younger, is if I showed someone the thing I couldn't beat, I would beat it on the first try. I was just like, I, and it ended up being like a thing between my friends and I too, where they would come over, I can't beat this, and they'd come over like, let's do this, and then first try we'd get it. Like, I don't know what this was that this happened all the time. But anyways, so yeah, I showed her this. I got to the final boss, which is Wart, the frog, and I was like, oh, it's giving me radishes. I'll throw them at him. Didn't realize you had to throw them at him when his mouth was open, but I eventually beat him, and he farted everywhere, and it was gross and funny. And then we won, and it was all a dream, and I was mad because I was like, "What? What do we mean it was all a dream? My 4 year old brain couldn't handle that kind of twist." And yeah, it never happened. So yeah, beating Super Mario Brothers 2 at the age of 4, and I've been playing video games since I was 2. So 2 years of never beating or anything. I think I was glad to finally beat something. So yay! Did you guys ever play the Super Mario Brothers 2?
Yeah, I played those, but I'm not very good at platformers, so
Oh,
I don't have
okay.
any fun stories like that.
For just a second, my push to talk wasn't doing anything,
Oh,
but now it's working. Okay. Yeah. When I was a kid, we had the cartridge that had like 5 different Mario games on it, and one of those is that one.
yes, yeah, the Super Mario All
Yeah.
Stars. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. When I was a kid, we had that, and yeah. So I played it. Didn't play it a ton, but I played it.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll move on to Sasha's. That was a quick one.
Yeah, mine will also be quick, but it's also, I guess, like a general life achievement. I think my original benchmark for achievement hunting was to hit a mil or I wanted to hit 1 million, but I knew I wasn't going to do that with going to college and getting a job and
Yeah.
not that not being my full-time job. So I lowered the benchmark to 100,000, and I did hit that. Right now, I think I'm sitting a little over 150,000 gamer score, because I'm not actively doing it anymore.
Right.
But when I hit 100,000, that was such a big deal. I remember like screen grabbing it, and it was my Facebook banner for a really long time.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
yeah, it was. I was really excited about that.
So what
So
was the
yeah,
game that
short and
got you
sweet.
over that hump?
Oh my God, I don't even remember. I honestly think it might have been SSX. I was playing SSX really heavy at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
SSX is a snowboarding game, Pan.
yes, which is also going to be on this list.
Okay.
Yeah,
It was
so I
like
think I
the
can slide it over.
it was like the Tony Hawk of snowboarding, essentially.
Yes. Um, One of my games that somehow I'm really, really good at. Like even drunk, I'm still really good at that game.
Natural talent. Okay. Uh, so Pan, hit us up with your first one.
Well, since we're breezing through these so quick, maybe we do 10, and I'll just have to come up with some more while you guys talk. Um, but the one that I am mostest proudest of is beating Echo the Dolphin.
Mm-hmm. I remember this one.
That
Yeah.
game is a beast. And I mean, I guess technically it's kind of a platformer. It's weird. Like there's not really jumping, but there's like
Well, there is jumping, but it's like very few
yeah.
sequences, and it's very
Yeah, yeah. It's more
yeah.
about managing, in Echo the Dolphin, you are a dolphin, and the unfortunate fact is that the entire game is the underwater level, and you have to breathe air. And you have to base your entire family got abducted by aliens, and you have to go on a time traveling adventure to like meet the giant DNA strand that spawned all life and use the powers that it gives you to to travel through time and kick the aliens' asses so they can't abduct your family. I am not making this plot up.
Yeah.
Sasha's like losing her mind right now.
It's pretty nuts. Yeah. I
This
mean,
game is nuts.
it reminds me of EVO, because EVO had that similar kind of like just out there aliens, like everything all along. Like I'm pretty sure the show Ancient Aliens just played a lot of Echo the Dolphin and EVO. Like, um,
Yeah, you have to like go. Yeah, you have to go to the ruins of Atlantis to find a time travel machine that can only be activated by dolphins.
Yes. Um. So, um, the
As a child, I don't know why I just thought Echo the Dolphin was basically Flipper, the video game, and never even gave it a second thought.
I rented it, so I had a
That
Genesis.
game is terrifying.
It is scary. Like level 1. It's like so serene and calm, and then you lose your family in the cutscene, which like while you're playing, you're like, where did they go? And then the music is just like plotting, I would say. It goes from calm to sort of like ominous, and you're just there by yourself in the water, and it doesn't really tell you where to go or what to do. And I'm like, I don't like this. What is like? I don't want to do this. So
And the final level is basically you're up in the alien ship, and you basically the game auto scrolls, and if you get auto scrolled and stuck to like a wall or something, you'll just get smushed and die, and you have to start all over from the very fucking beginning. It's a lot of like your thumbs get like the muscle memory of how to do this, how to go through this maze that auto scrolls.
mm-hmm.
And then at the end of that maze, you have to fight the queen alien. And the thing is that you don't stand a goddamn chance fighting her unless in like the third level of the game, you rescued these 5 dolphins who were stuck like down in this underwater cave, which is an optional side quest in that level. And if you rescue all 5 dolphins, they upgrade your echolocation, so that way it's like a Link's sword attack.
Right. Yeah.
He does like that wave. So if you rescue all 5 dolphins, your echolocation does an attack and damages. And you don't stand a fucking chance against the queen alien unless you have that echolocation upgrade. It's brutal. And I had a lot of free time when I was 17.
Hey, at least
I,
it's not the giant amoeba penis that is EVO. That's that's
oh,
uh,
yeah.
that's EVO's final boss. A giant amoeba with a penis. It's just gross.
We're not joking. We're not joking.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. Um, and you have to bite the end of it to kill it. So, or attack the end of it, I guess. You don't, but bite is like your most reliable attack in the game. So, okay,
But yeah, beating Echo the Dolphin. That I spent. I think it took me about 2 weeks, and I think about 5 of those days were spent just on the final level and the final boss.
I imagine, yeah. Did you have like a save point or like a password you could do, or do you have to do all over again?
You can do a password.
Okay.
Yeah, Sega Genesis, so it has a password system at the beginning of it. You enter a password to get to the beginning of the level. So here's the thing. Well, actually, I didn't play it on Genesis. I played it on Wii because I had it through the virtual console.
But you originally played it on Genesis, and then
Yes. I originally played it on Genesis when I was like 5. And it scared the crap out of me. The octopus and the crabs that just jump out of nowhere just scared the crap out of me. And I couldn't handle it. Yeah, beating Echo the Dolphin, my proudest video game achievement.
Okay. Mine are not in any particular order. It's just I just listed them as I remembered them. So my number 2, and I've talked about this several times on the show, is beating Adokal in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. And I'll relay this story really quickly for Sasha, who doesn't know. So Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate is sort of like the last old style Monster Hunter before World came out. And it's still got a lot of old mechanics and stuff. So like in the new games, you can heal while running or walking. It slows you down, but you can heal. This one, it's like you chug a potion, you flex, and you get the health back. And so like healing sets you up for like getting hit and stuff. So like it's the last of that like style of Monster Hunter where it's a lot less like quality of life stuff. But I went up against the final boss alone, and typically this is a 4-player game. A lot of people do multiplayer to do this stuff, but I was like, I have a few minutes. My family were off doing other things. They had just got back from, I think we had all just got back from doing the Paul Bunyan show, which is the Paul Bunyan show, for people who don't know, the famous lumberjack Paul Bunyan. We went to a sawmill show, and that's something for our work because our biggest customers are sawmills usually.
What's a sawmill show?
You basically go off.
Is this another Ohio thing?
No, they happen all around. This is another rural thing, I suppose.
Not a Michigan thing.
Bro, I live in Nebraska. I've never heard of this.
There is one in Detroit that happens every year.
Oh yeah, Detroit. That's really rural.
I guess I'm just not a sawmill person.
So they just go off and show off like, hey, this is how we cut logs better. And like sell products and stuff. It's just trade show, like a trade show.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense. I thought this was a thing like you bring the kids and family to.
Yeah, you do. Sometimes they have like contests. Like, there's this like, how fast can you climb up a log with like those ropes, that they like shimmy up a log and stuff. Then they have contests where they shimmy it up and like split the log in half from the top down, and it's just really crazy. But anyways, a lot of it is basically trade shows that you can show off your products and stuff. And we go, since we do a lot of business with sawmills. We had just got back, so everyone had been to this show, and people had just got back, and I decided to play the game and try to beat the final boss if I had a few minutes before everyone was sitting down to watch TV. And everyone got kind of done doing their thing and sitting down and watching me fight Alto Caw. And so I got down to like all of my healing items are done. Like I couldn't go back to camp. This isn't like newer style Monster Hunter for those who aren't familiar, where you can go back to camp and get replenishment on potions. What you brought on the quest is what you had. So I was out. I had out of this 50-minute quest, I had 10 seconds left, no potions, and I just went for it. I was like full ham. I killed it. I got hit. I went down to like a smidge of health, like down to like 1 or 2%, and then I finally hit it. I killed it, and the whole room was like, "Yay, you did it!" And like my whole family was there watching. It was a little funny, like just like this like group event of me defeating the final boss of Generations Ultimate. So yeah, that was that, and I would say for Monster Hunter, that's my biggest achievement because it was tough. It was tough solo. I had never done it. Of course, there's people out there who are like, yeah, I'll solo it in 15 minutes, and da da da. But that's not me. I'm not. I'm not the world's greatest player. I gave it my all, and barely got it. But I beat it several times with people since. Also, I didn't know what the fight was. I was going into that fight blind. So I was like, oh yeah, it's a giant praying mantis. That's new. So yeah, that's number 2 for me. So Sasha, what's your second one?
I'm gonna go with my rarest achievement that I'm also the most proud of.
Okay.
With Xbox, I completed SSX. I went on my True Achievements page to kind of look up some of the statistics about this, to see exactly how rare this was. And 1% of gamers complete SSX. So 1% of
Wow.
people who have started the game have completed all of the achievements, and it's because it's really hard. So I pulled up a bunch of the achievements because I cannot believe that I did some of this stuff, honestly. Like one of them was surviving cold descent without equipping a solar panel. So cold descent is a level that has cold advisory, so you have to equip special equipment to survive. And if you go in the shadows, you take cold damage, and your character will die before the end of the race. So I beat this without equipping any of the special equipment, and instead equipping not the cold stuff, but a wind glider, and just gliding down the mountain as fast as I could before I died from wind and cold damage. And I got all the gold badges for global events, gear badges. Actually, it was harder to get bronze badges because I was so good at the game. It is actually something I had to get drunk to do.
I'm sorry, I've got a BRB, but you guys keep going.
Sure.
Yeah. So I had to get the easier badges, the easier achievements. I had to dumb my gaming down to actually do it.
That's interesting. Like,
yes, I've never had to do that before.
because normally when you have one like that, like if you achieve the higher ones, it normally just gives you the lower ones.
Yeah, so with that one, specifically, it's the global events. You you don't actually play against people one-on-one, which is nice for a multiplayer game, because for games that didn't just come out, it might be hard to get a full race going. So what you do instead is you play it, and your best time or your best score gets put on a leaderboard, and then it's for like 24 hours, 48 hours, or a week, and then you get a badge based on how you did. But I kept doing so well every time I played that I kept getting gold, and I wouldn't get the silver, and I wouldn't get the bronze.
Oh. So you have to
Yes.
purposely sabotage yourself at some point in the run.
Yes, so I did that with hard cider.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it, I suppose.
It is.
Huh. And was this 360 days? Or
It was 360.
okay. Yeah, I remember some of those early achievements being like, how the hell are you supposed to be able to do like I remember that's what like I always thought that because 360 started this whole achievements thing, uh, and then I was like, this is cool. I love this. Um, and I remember Halo even having like, if you remember Halo having like, what did they call it? It was the Bungie something. Bungie ran this thing where they kept track of like literally everything you had done in Halo, to the minute detail.
Yeah, that was in, I think Reach did that.
Well, no, they did it
You'd
for
get like
earlier
little.
games too.
See, I only really got heavy into Reach because it was something that my brother and husband and my cousin, like everyone just wanted to play together. But I do remember you would get in-game skins, unlock special stuff.
Yeah,
I just called it Halo Barbie.
uh, Halo Barbie. Um, so this website, it's kind of like this third party thing with like true achievements and true trophies, but Bungie themselves hosted it for Halo. And I remember it used to keep track of your splats, which is the road kills. And I would go online and like try to determine how much splats I got, and like that was like my thing, is like try to get as many splats as I could. And um also there was the pylon kills, and those were like super rare because you had to have like hit a pylon fast enough for it to fly into a Spartan and kill them. Like it was super. I got one and I saved a replay of it back in the day because like at the beginning of the match I shot a sniper rifle shot, and it did one of those crazy things where it like ricocheted a bunch, and then it hit a pylon and the pylon flew into the guy and killed him. And it was like a kill within like the first couple seconds of the match. It was like insane. I was like, how did I get a kill? So I actually backtracked it through the replay mode and looked to see what happened. And I was like, it's my only pylon kill. Oh my gosh. And I was like, I was so excited. Um, uh, I guess some of the chats talking about some Halo stuff. Yeah, yeah, they did let you save replays. I don't remember. Yeah, I do remember they shut that down too. As After Atlantis is saying, they shut that site down a while ago. But yeah, that's how I remember looking for that and stuff. So that's what kind of what got me started on achievements as well for 360. But ever since then, I have way let my account lapse because I've not had an Xbox account since the 360 days. So not an active one at least. So someone could have my gamer tag now. Someone could, because it's been phased out. Um,
I would be devastated, but I'm on mine every day, just not usually playing. My kids
sure.
watching Netflix most of the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I ended up switching to PlayStation 3 because my friends were all getting PlayStations, and I went to what they had. It didn't help that my friend showed me on his first like big screen TV Borderlands, and he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna play this together." I was like, "Cool." We never played Borderlands together, and I hate that game now because I had to play it by myself. But I did get a PS3, and we did play a lot of games together.
Oh man, Borderlands is fun with friends. It is such a boring grind.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've fallen asleep playing that game more than once.
Oh yeah, no, I have fallen asleep playing some of my favorite games, um, especially like Monster Hunter. Like when you're between quests, you're in sort of this hub area, and it's got this relaxing music. And we had a good friend of mine who took so long between every quest, just figuring out what he wanted to hunt and get his like shopping list of items he wanted. It was like 15 minutes between quests, and it was just like I would just fall asleep all the time. It was so
You just
frustrating.
you just have like a preset and you just hit the button.
I know, but he was terrible. He wanted to go to the smith and look at everything all the time. It was bad. So so Pan, your second one?
Yeah. This one was in Crusader Kings 2, and it's one of the rarer ones in Crusader Kings 2 that I have.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Empressive, is what the achievement is called, and it's basically you have to have 3 successive generations of empresses. So your character has to be an empress, and then the next, that character dies, and then the heir is also an empress, and then that character dies, and then that heir is an empress. That is tough to do because of
males.
Because most governments have male favored inheritance by default.
Yeah.
And most cultures are locked out of female favored inheritance. There's like 2 or 3 cultures that are not locked out of it.
So did you do this on a culture that didn't have it locked out, or did you do it like hard mode?
I did it hard mode.
Oh boy.
So what I did was so first off, having an empire level title, that's it's not impossible. It's not too tough to do, but you've got to have an empire level title that you can hang on to. 2, most vassals just don't like female rulers unless you're attractive.
Oh.
In which case you get like a giant male vassals, or rather straight male vassals get a giant opinion bonus towards attractive female rulers.
Yeah, I could see that being a thing.
You don't get the opinion bonus if they're gay.
Fair.
So, anyways, to make it a little easier, what I did was I started off as the Byzantines, or Eastern Roman Empire, and they start off with an empire level title, so that's easy enough to do. That's easy enough there, and all I got to do really is just hang on to it. Then you can set it so that you can have equal inheritance. So basically, it's whatever oldest child gets it, whether they're male or female. And then here's where it gets rough, because every time I finally got it down to where like I set my oldest daughter up to inherit. Great, fantastic. She's got the title. Okay, so now I've got an empress. Now I need to be very, very careful and make sure that she doesn't have any sons and she only has daughters. And the thing is, you can't plot to assassinate your own children. You can plot to assassinate. Yeah, you can plot to assassinate your grandchildren, but you cannot plot to assassinate your own children. However, what you can do.
Imagine taking this stuff out of context.
There are 2 things you can do. You can imprison your own children if they've committed crimes.
Okay.
And there are a few things you can do to prisoners. So what I had to do... Yes.
Oh, boy. That was a shot in the dark. Oh, boy.
Yes. So the Greeks specifically can do that to prisoners. The Greek culture group. So what I had to do.
My joke backfired.
Her 3, yeah. So her first 3 kids were boys, and I'm like, God damn it! But I finally got a daughter, and she's attractive. Perfect. She's the perfect next heir.
Mm-hmm.
So what I had to do, first off, if you cannot force your first 2 immediate heirs into the church, basically, because you can also you got too many sons, whatever. Just tell a couple of them to go become monks, and then they're locked out of inheriting anything. But you cannot force your first 2 immediate heirs into the church. So. My third son, I forced him into the church. Fine, cool. So now I just got to get rid of my firstborn and my secondborn. And then the way is paved for my daughter. The first one, he's got a really shitty martial score, so I made him the general of my armies, and I set him out on a crusade to kick the shit out of the Muslims. And wouldn't you know it, he died in battle.
He will be remembered fondly for dying as his purpose was.
Yeah, then the next one, he just stubbornly wouldn't die. And more to the point, More to the point, he knocked up some girl, and then they started having kids, and now I've got grandkids that I've got to deal with because they're the children of my firstborn now, so they're going to inherit before my daughter. So I had to plot to kill all of them, and eventually I started spying on my son, and I made up charges. I planted evidence against him, threw him in prison, and then for the crime of treason, I castrated him. And so because he was castrated, he was locked out of inheriting. So then my daughter inherited. Awesome. So now I'm on the second generation of empresses. Now with her, basically what I did was I just went seduction focus, and I just seduced the entire empire. Like every male vassal, whatever, seduce him. That gives him a plus 100 opinion bonus of me.
Yeah, because he's sleeping.
So so here's the thing: she never got married, but she slept with basically every straight male vassal she had, which there was a lot of them. And but because she kept having all these kids out of wedlock, she had a lot of bastards. But you know what's great? Bastards can't inherit. So I legitimized only the daughters.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, she had 12 kids and 4 or 5 legitimate daughters. So, boom. She dies at the ripe old age of 72, and her 55-year-old daughter inherits. All her bastard sons are pissed. But it doesn't matter. Also, the kingdom kind of fell apart because it was only held together by. It was basically only held together by affection.
It was held together.
It was held together by affection for the empress. Is how I'll put it.
Okay, sure.
And once she died, all the vassals were just angry. All these vassals who were the sons of the women who had been spurned by the empress.
Oh my gosh.
It was tough. It was tough, but I did it.
This game is insane. I did pick up 3, and I barely got into it. Boy, this game. Okay, that is an achievement.
Yeah, it's a Steam achievement and everything. It's pretty rare.
Whew. I don't know. I'm gonna look this up. Do the true trophies thing. This next one actually is a trophy. It's the first one. It is a trophy. So, let's see. Yay. Oh wow, it's only a 9% ratio. Okay, so my next one is the platinum for Split Second. And Split Second, so 9% of people who played the game got it, which that's actually a little more, it's more popular than I thought it would be, honestly. Because the achievements on this, some of them are online based. So you actually had to do competitive online stuff at the time, which, sure, I guess that'll work. But so basically, Split Second, it was one of the few Disney interactive games that weren't Disney characters. If you remember, I've talked about this a couple times before, but it's basically like Mario Kart if Mario Kart was an action movie. So you would have action cues. You would build up stuff by doing stunts like drifting or passing close to a car. So basically doing action movie things. And you would build up a meter. And you could activate events on this meter. So there's a race. The two that stick out to me that took a full the full meter. It was level 1, 2, and 3, and it took 3 to do the largest events. One of them was at the Hoover Dam, and you would blow up the dam, and it would completely alter the track. So you'd have to be going through the ruined dam, like driving across like broken pieces and through waterfalls and stuff. Whereas the other way, it was just like a racetrack across the top of the dam, um, and beside it. And then another one was like a power plant, and if you activated the third, you would just blow up two of the reactors, just two of the nuclear reactors. And there was actually one of the achievements, if I remember correctly. Actually, I could look here. Is actually using that to blow up like three or more, uh, um, like other racers with a nuclear explosion. But like basically, you would just take these things and you would like blow up the pieces of the track. So like all the power ups are basically using the environment to destroy the other racers or knock them around. Now they were never permanently destroyed. They'd spawn back on the track because of video games, but that kind of thing. So getting the platinum on this game was difficult for two reasons. The first reason being that it had online ones, so it had to be like get first place in like so many races online. And like of course, I'm not a super competitive like racing game player, so I had to learn how to race really well. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go for these online ones, and I eventually got it. It took quite a bit of tries, but I eventually got it. But the hardest one is there's these like basically time attack courses. So get through this course in a certain amount of time with this certain car. And some of them basically required like frame perfect execution on turns and that kind of thing. Like it was just like insane times that you would have to hit. And it took me one of the courses took me, I believe it was 4 weeks of all of my video game playing being trying this course to beat the time. Like it was insane. It was my last one too. It was my last one for the trophy. But I finally got it, and I got the trophy. But apparently, 9% is actually really high for a platinum percentage. Like, I I don't know. I was expecting it to be like in the 3% range, but apparently it wasn't.
It is 3% on Xbox. Um, and I can tell you that I'm not one of those people because I got pissed off playing this game and gave up about halfway through my achievement
Oh,
list.
so you played this? Okay.
Yes, I went through a phase where I was playing a ton of racing games. I was like really heavy into Split Second and Blur and SSX and Hydro Thunder, and this was
Mm-hmm.
one that I started to do some cool stuff with the achievements, but then when I got to like the time trials and the online stuff, I started to get very frustrated and like, no, I'm gonna put my effort somewhere else.
Yes. Oh wait, no. It was called Detonator because if you didn't win in the amount of time, they blew up your car and you lost. I'm seeing it now on the achievement list. It's called Beat the Team, and it's Beat the Team as in you're beating the development team was the achievement. Oh man. Yeah, so Beat the Team to the Revenge. Beat 1 minute 18 seconds on Power Plant and Detonator. Yeah, that's the one that took me forever. Apparently, that's at a 10% ratio on getting that.
Well,
So,
apparently PlayStation gamers are just better than Xbox gamers at this one because Beat the Team on Xbox is 5% and Beat the Team 2 was 4%.
ooh, yeah, it's 11 and 10 here. Okay, cool. Well, uh, I'm looking, make sure. Yeah, I have no other trackable achievements other than the last one. So, um, so yeah, that's my third one is Split Second Platinum. It took a long time to do, and for whatever reason, I get really into completionist on racing games. Mario Kart, I was like, nope, I gotta get first on every cup, every CC. Like I just got to do it. So, and Split Second, I loved. I'm sad that there wasn't ever another Split Second. Honestly, it was a good game. in my opinion. I liked it. Of course, I like a lot of crashing games like Burnout.
It was good. I just I wasn't as naturally gifted at it as others, so frustrated.
Yeah. So number 3 for you, Sasha.
I'm gonna go with your racing genre, and the next one for me was earning every primary light on hard difficulty in a game called Blur. This one is the achievement's called Somebody Stop Me,
I
and
remember Blur.
2%
Yeah.
of gamers have this achievement. I did not complete Blur. I almost completed Blur.
Mm-hmm.
The only things that kind of left me out were some online achievements because when I finally started playing this game, it wasn't super popular.
Yeah.
It was hard to pick up multiplayer, but earning every light on hard was a challenge. There were a few races that were like I remember playing for weeks over and over and over again. And they weren't the actual races. There were like special races that you would have to do, like destruction races were the hardest to me on hard, where you had to pick up these special bolts. There were two different kinds of weapons you could pick up, but on hard, the cars took more damage and there were less weapon pickups, and you had to also be really, really fast. So I remember there being a few of the last races that tested my patience. I'm like, am I going to do this? Am I going to do this? But I did. And I remember when I finally got the last light on Blur, I let out this big sigh of relief, and then I shut the game off, and I don't think I've ever played it since then.
Come out on top. So
Yes.
it was called Last Light.
The achievement's called Somebody Stop Me.
Somebody Stop. Okay.
Yes.
I'm looking to see what the equivalent is on the PlayStation end because I'm curious.
Yeah, so on Xbox, this one is 2% of the people who've played the game done this. And I actually remember too, I had a friend, one other friend on my friends list who actually played this game, and he was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And he had times that were better than me in almost every race, but he did not get every primary light on hard, and I felt so accomplished that I did.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Yeah, so Somebody Stop Me. Out of 835 tracked gamers, 4%. Got it.
Yep, 993 on Xbox.
Boy.
Yeah.
I like that. It's good. Okay. I remember Blur. I don't remember why I didn't pick up Blur, because Blur would have been up my alley in those days, and I don't remember why I didn't.
Yeah, I feel like Blur is just a real car version of Mario Kart.
Yeah, I know. Like, I would have loved it. I don't know why I didn't. All right. Pan, your third one.
Okay, so I've talked about this one a couple of times before. It's the Harvest Moon 64 party picture.
Oh, yes. I remember this one.
Yeah. So, a little bit of backstory for people who haven't heard about this a bit. Harvest Moon 64 is kind of like the granddaddy of like farming games.
Mm-hmm.
It's the game that pretty heavily inspired Concerned Ape to make Stardew Valley, and I think it's honestly one of the better Harvest Moon games like that's been made. It's just I've done everything in it now, so I'm pretty much done with it. So the party picture. So standard farming game. You inherited a farm from your dead grandpa, and you move out of the big city to start a life on this farm. And in 2 years, your dad is going to come and basically rate your life and decide if you get to stay on the farm or if he's going to drag you back to the city. And so basically, for like 10 years after this game came out, people like there were rumors all over the place, and nobody like for sure knew exactly what conditions you had to meet before your dad showed up to get this picture where the entire town comes to your farm to throw a big party after your dad shows up. And then this photographer shows up, and you get this picture to put in your photo album. It's called the party picture. And for years, nobody knew how to get it. And like this one guy just data mined the ever loving crap out of the game. He like documented everything on his blog, and I saw him reposted on Game FAQs. This was in like let's see, the game came out in like the late '90s, so this was in like 2009, 2010 when I was reading it on Game FAQs. And he documented exactly everything you needed to do to get the party picture. Okay. And some of it is luck. There are a few luck components to it, but you basically, you have to.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
I did something wrong with the stream. There we go. I'm trying to. Yeah. While you're, go ahead.
Okay, so you have to you have to have at least like 10 best friends. You have to have like all the marriageable girls in town have to like you. You have to be married yourself. You have to have a baby. You have to have at least so many cows and chickens. I forget everything you have to have done, but there's a lot of things you have to have had done. And then then the town will come and celebrate with you after when your dad comes to visit.
Right.
And so I decided I was gonna get the party picture. I got Harvest Moon 64 on Virtual Console. I think on the Wii U. Yeah, it was on the Wii U. And so I set out to get the party picture, and I decided for myself not only was I gonna get the party picture, but I was going to get every other life event photograph done before my dad showed up. And basically there's various life events you go through in the town, and the photographer shows up and gives you a picture to put in your album. Some of them are pretty tough, like basically for every one of the marriage candidate girls, she'll like go on a date with you and like confess her love to you, and then the photographer shows up and takes your picture. So it's really tricky because they won't go on a date with you if you're married.
Fair.
But you have to be married and have a baby by the time your dad shows up to get the picture. So I basically had a timetable of, no, I have to seduce every girl in this town within a year. Not 2 years. It was a year, because it still takes like a year after you get married for the baby to be old enough for your dad to. The baby has to be so old before your dad shows up.
Mm-hmm.
So it was tough. The first time I went through, I failed because I was in the fall of my second year, and Dad shows up at the end of spring of your third year. So basically, I was almost there. Basically, just had a few months left in the game before he showed up.
Just like in Stardew Valley when you get reviewed by the candles, yeah.
Yes, yeah. When Grandpa's ghost shows up, yes, that's exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I screwed up because I basically did not get the date picture with one of the girls in time. I had to have it like done by like fall 12th in order to get married in time to have a baby old enough for my dad's picture. And that sucked because I had to start over from scratch.
Mm.
But I was so happy when I finally got through all of it, and my dad showed up, and then everybody got together for the picture, and I had the complete Harvest Moon 64 album done by the time Dad showed up. And he let me stay on the farm and didn't drive me back to the city with my wife and baby.
Wow.
Yeah. If you like don't make a good life for yourself, he like chews you out for like wasting the potential of Grandpa's farm, and he like seizes it from you and tells you to go back to like the family home in the city.
That's a little more harsh than Stardew. It's a little more harsh. Yeah, because Stardew, it's like, you'll get it next year, Sonny.
Yeah, basically.
Now, I actually, my playthrough that Emery deleted on Stardew, that 300-hour save, I got first try. I got the full Grandpa's approval. But I didn't do anything crazy. I mean, I got a lot of dissent from the ex-wife at the time for marrying Haley, but whatever. But apparently, I'm not allowed to marry the blonde girl because that's a sin. Whatever.
In Harvest Moon 64, I tend to I don't like it because she always breaks the chicken eggs because she's clumsy, but I always marry Anne. The reason I marry Anne is because if you don't marry Anne, then she marries the mountain hobo guy, Cliff.
Oh no.
And she is no. Cliff is fine. Cliff is who I would marry if you could marry dudes in Harvest Moon 64. But video games were only for boys back in the 90s, so you know. Anyways, but there are like scenes where like you go to the farm to like hang out with Cliff and Anne and stuff, and Anne comes like running out of the house like yelling at Cliff, and he has a black eye. So I try to save Cliff from that abusive marriage by marrying Anne for him.
Oh, that's problematic on many levels.
Yeah, no, it super is. There's a lot of oh man, no. Also, your age is stated to be 16. And there's, like, on New Year's Day, the entire town gets together and drinks. And one of the things you have to do is outdrink everyone in town.
At 16. Okay.
Yeah, no, you walk up and talk to them, and they, like, each one of you takes a drink of alcohol. And eventually, like, the NPCs of town will, like, get sick and go home. Your alcohol limit is based on how many drinks of alcohol you had throughout the year. So, like, if you had, like, 30 drinks of alcohol that year in the game, then you have 30 drinks you can take on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Anyways, the vineyard owner's daughter, she takes, like, 14 drinks to send home. And if you fail, like, your character's face goes red, you get swirly eyes, and you fall over and black out.
So it'd be 1 for me if I tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of characters who are like the baker. Yeah. The baker never drinks. So like he has one drink and then he's like, "Oh god." He's like, "Oh, I got to go home."
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
like
there's So yeah, Harvest Moon 64 got the full complete photo album, including the party picture, before Dad showed up.
Okay. So some viewers might have seen me pull up my Blizzard account while we were talking there. One of my things is dealing with Diablo 3, and I was going to see if I could check it while Pan was talking. The answer is no. I cannot. So sorry about that if you guys saw that. Basically, my next one is the amount. I wanted to talk about the amount of playtime I put into a single game. The highest playtime into a single game I have, which is Diablo 3. I have been playing this game off and on since its release in 2012. And like I was talking about earlier, I have really, really upped to playing it again lately. It is also the game I have bought on most systems and or times. I have now purchased this game 8 times between 4 releases on PC, which does include the base game and the 1 expansion. But to be fair, the expansion was just as expensive as the base game on launch. Maybe even... Yeah, I think it was just the same. I think they were both 40. I bought it on PS3, I bought it on PS4, and then I bought the expansion on PS4, and then I bought it on Switch. So, 4 console launches and 4 PC launches. And this doesn't include the Necromancer pack, which I bought standalone, which is $10 on PC. So, I bought everything this game offers content-wise. And they actually have a way to track your playtime based on characters. Based on classes, I should say. You can look at a class and see how much hours you have. And I was going to try to see if I could check that and not have it show up on stream while while Pan was talking, but that's not going to be possible. So I will go off of this. I know it's my most played game because I know that in 2014 I had 3,000 hours on the Wizard alone. uh, yeah, both. So it might not show up on audio, but or for the people who are just listening, both Sasha and Pam were like, "Wow."
I did a slow Owen Wilson style wow movement with my mouth.
Yeah, it's a thing because I have been through this game since it launched. Right, obviously, I was there for Error 33, the infamous server error where everyone was like, "Oh no, Diablo's always online now, and it's no one's gonna like it." So the infamous Error 33, for those who aren't aware, is launch day of Diablo 3. It didn't work for a good 3 days because so many people were trying to log in that it failed the servers. So everyone who couldn't get in got Error 33. I was there with the original Torment, which there used to be. So Diablo has this thing, and Sasha, you played Diablo 3. When did you started playing on console release, right? So they're probably up through Torment 10 at that point, at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played on 360 when it launched on 360.
Okay. So traditional Diablo games, Diablo 3 strays from that quite a bit. It used to only be 3 difficulties, and this will be true in the remaster coming out for Diablo 2. Normal, Nightmare, and Hell. They added Torment because they knew people were going to blast through whatever content they had. They were trying to prepare for that. And they made Torment hard. We're talking extremely hard, as in no one in the world beat it for the first couple months. Like the world record for like the first month, I think, was in Act 2 of the 4 acts in Diablo 1. Like it was so hard that it was like dang near impossible. Then they added, like, I've been there through this thing they called Valor stacks. So it used to be like to get better magical items, you would have to kill elite packs, which would give you a stack of Valor. And once you got 5 Valor stacks, then you would just go farming things and bosses with your full magic find and go kill things. That's no longer a thing. Now, legendary items drop like every other. It feels like every other item, but they're a much higher drop rate. Legendary items in the original game were super rare and also sucked. Like yellow items were just better than legendary items most of the time. They've done so much to improve the game over the years. I think Reaper of Souls, which came out in 2014, really brought the game to where it's at now a lot. And they, of course, introduced seasons in 2015, I think. I think it was the next year after. They're now on season 24, which is what I've been playing because season 24 introduced some cool mechanics, I think, with the ethereal weapons. So that's what I've been doing, is trying to get the ethereal weapons, because if you get all 21 before the season ends, you get to have those as a aesthetic item. So it's kind of like a race, but if you don't do it, they're gone forever, and you never get it, which is kind of kind of shitty. But at the same time, I'm just enjoying playing the game, so whatever. But yeah, I've put a ton of hours in this game, and like I said, we're talking like years ago. I put 3,000 hours into it on a single class. And that was just on PC. That doesn't include any of the times the time I put on PS3, PS4, or Switch. Also, it doesn't include any of the other classes. There are 7 classes, all of which I have taken to endgame and beyond, several hundreds of hours at least. But I will say the Wizard is probably my furthest one that I have taken. Because how could I not? She is the one that is voiced by the same actress as Azula from Avatar, The Last Airbender. So, how could I not want to hear her say, "Die, demon," in like whatever her Azula voice? And I always make her a fire wizard, because you got to. Or lightning. Lightning works too. If you're familiar with Avatar. She actually does have some lines from the show too. Like there are some lines that match up exactly.
Yeah, she's a hero in Heroes of the Storm as well.
Yes, yeah. So she has, yeah. Well, I mean, they did that on purpose, right? Because she appeared in the Heroes of the Storm as the Diablo 3 sword wizard, wizardess. I guess. I guess you call it wizard. That's wizard. I don't know. Doesn't have to be a gender
I
thing.
forget what she's called.
But she's just the female wizard in Diablo 3, which I think is really cool. Diablo 3 did is have each class be male and female, because Diablo 2 was just like, hey, here's a dude. Hey, here's a girl. Hey, here's a dude. And let you be everything in Diablo 3. And 4. 4 is going to be doing that too. But yeah, most played game, Diablo 3. It's still going to continue to be my most played game because I'm still actively playing it today. So we'll see. Single game, I should say, though. I don't know. I think this game beats all of my playtime with Monster Hunter added together as well. I think it does. But there's a reason why Monster Hunter in it are sitting in my top 3. Along with Doom. Doom might beat it, but there's no way to track my Doom time at all. So, who knows? So that was my next one. So, Sasha, number 4?
I'm gonna go with. So there is a specific achievement that I had to try and retry a few times to get, and it's not that rare of an achievement. Oh, right, so for me, but it was. It's an achievement called Grim Reaper, and it is in Dragon Age Origins, and it is defeating the Harvester on hard nightmare difficulty. So when I did this, I did do it nightmare. Um, the reason that I had such a hard time with this particular achievement is that it's part of the DLC Golems of Barak, I think, and you do not actually get to go with your party members, your regular party members. You get these 2 dwarves that are, I think, like one of them's a warrior and one of them's a rogue, and rogues are weak party members in Dragon Age, in all of the Dragon Age games. So you're already kind of off the bat at a disadvantage. So the first time that I played through this DLC, I played through as my rogue character because I usually play as the rogue. And then I got, fucked with 2 rogues and a warrior going into this final battle with the Harvester, who heals itself, sends dots, sends crowd, does crowd damage, crowd control, all kinds of just crap. And I was not well equipped for this. You also get your inventory wiped at the start of the DLC. So anything that you've done in the game heading in, there's really no advantage. So I pretty much had to accept defeat. I could not do it with the rogue, with the 2 rogues and the warrior. So I restarted the entire game and played as a mage and rebuilt myself as a healer so that I could go through and do this again and heal my party members, and keep that stupid rogue and that stupid warrior alive. And in Dragon Age Origins, this one is a little bit harder, I think, than the other games, because you do need to go in and set all your party members, set them up to heal themselves at the right times, like protect other party members when the party member's health gets on, do certain types of crowd control attacks when there's too many enemies. So it ended up being something that I sunk way too much time into. And then when I saw that it really wasn't that hard of an achievement, I felt really stupid, but I felt very accomplished when I did finally beat it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I found it. It was like 44% of people have done it, and I was like,
sorry, I've got to go again for a second. My son's kind of having a rough night tonight. I'll be right back.
It's okay. I unfortunately didn't get into Dragon Age Origins. At the time, I was primarily and almost exclusively a console gamer. And Dragon Age Origins on PS3 was not good, in my opinion. It was not designed well for that system, at least. I remember there was a lot of management stuff that was like, this would be like a billion times easier on PC, or with a better controller layout, or with something, because like it was hard.
The whole game is a lot easier on PC. Origins is anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like Origins is a much easier game when you can get like a WoW style interface with all of your um, abilities in front of you, all
Hmm.
of your inventory management, and to be able to switch easily between your party members.
Yeah.
Fortunate for me, I played Origins first on the console, so my brain was wired to play the broken version first before I played it on PC. But I played it at launch and I was really excited about DLC when it came out, and
Hmm.
I was I would get really excited if my name, my gamer tag would get published on the True Achievements page as one of the first people to get the achievement, which
Hmm.
only would happen with DLC. So that was part of the other reason why I screwed up so bad playing the Harvester on Nightmare was there were no guides. I wasn't prepared to know that I was going to get lousy party members, that I should not play as a rogue, that I should play as a party member that could heal. So I got to problem solve that myself.
Yeah. This there looks like there was uh, 8 DLCs for this game.
Yes, including because this one had a like massive expansion as well. So you got Warden's Keep was a small DLC, Witch Hunt was a small DLC, the Golems of was Liana, but you got this one called Awakening that increased the level cap, added new areas, added a new storyline.
Hmm.
Yeah, I miss when games used to do that, like real expansions, not just like here's some equipment and two.
Yeah. Yeah. That again, to go back to Diablo, that's sort of been their style, right? Like base Diablo 2, you got Lord of Destruction, and you went from base Diablo 3 to Reaper of Souls. Um, but a lot of times, these modern games, they don't do that. They have like, here's like this small thing. And actually, Sasha, you don't, since you're not as familiar with Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter still sticks to that as well. They do full expansions. Now they do recently. They have had like, oh, here's title update, something something. Here's like one or two new monsters. Here you go. But like there is almost always an expansion on the horizon that is going to increase the level cap, add new monsters, new mechanics, and everything. So yeah, I think expansions are always more exciting because you're actually getting more content versus. No, I mean, like DLC, you always get more content, but it's not the same. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't change much. You okay, Pan? Well, she can't hear us yet. Everything okay?
Um, so my father-in-law visited earlier, and he brought a present for my son.
Uh oh.
A little, no, it's fine. It's a little wooden train track bridge
Oh
because
yeah.
he has a bunch of wooden train tracks. So my father-in-law brought him this like fancy train track piece for his train track set. He was flipping out because he thought that my husband took the train track bridge away. And he would not say a word. He did not want to have anything to do with Daddy because he was pretty sure Daddy took his train track bridge. The damn thing was under his blanket.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there. I'm sorry, Steve. I've been there.
And yeah, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go find this bridge
Mm-hmm.
because he wanted to take it to bed with him. So he's upstairs curled up in his blanket with a train track bridge now.
Yep. Yeah, like I mentioned before the show, or actually no, it was the beginning of the show. Open house with my daughter. She fell and scraped her arm, and she I was surprised she didn't blame me because we all decided we were going to do a crab walk to the car, and she tripped doing it, um, and scraped her arm, and I thought she was going to blame me. She ended up blaming her sister for having the idea to crab walk. So I've been hearing them fight about that, and that was Tuesday that happened. Don't get me wrong though, her scab is pretty bad. Like it's a pretty big one, but she really scraped her arm. But like it's just, yeah, I've been the quote unquote bad guy for an imagined slight before.
Yeah, so I had to go arbitrate that discussion.
Right. It's understandable. We are all parents here.
Yeah.
Um so I don't know if you caught that, Pan, but basically Dragon Age Origins DLC was very hard to beat this boss for
Oh yeah,
Sasha.
yeah. I heard that part of the story. Yes.
We had a little bit of discussion about expansions as well versus like just DLC, because there was a lot of small DLC for Origins and there was expansion, and I was explaining that Monster Hunter has expansions, and we've been getting the small DLC stuff like the Valstrax update we got in Rise and that kind of stuff. And remember you mentioned you archived Rise. Did you unarchive it because of that new thing? What was even the new thing? I didn't see anything about it.
I just happened to see a thing on Facebook, but it was not easy to see. Some Kushala Daora event in the Sandy Plains.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, I'll just catch up on that when the expansion comes. Who cares? All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But I just thought it was funny that, like, you know, I archived Rise to make room for Pioneers of Olive Town.
Oh yeah,
And
I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I archived it to make room for Pioneers of Olive Town. And and someone on the Discord, I believe it was Chrono Strider, said, and before a major update to Rise, and you have to unarchive it in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 days later, that happened.
Yep. Okay. So I believe that was number 4 for Sasha. So I think we're on number 4 for you, Pan.
Okay. So we're another Crusader Kings 2 tale.
Oh boy.
So this one is called 7 Centuries. So the time span that Crusader Kings 2 takes place in, it spans basically the early Middle Ages all the way up to just the barely beginning of the Renaissance. So basically the medieval era. Mm-hmm. From about 700 AD to like sometime in the 1400s. I forget exactly.
Right. Basically during the Crusades, yeah.
Yeah. Like the game in the beginning was like a strategy game about being a ruler during the Crusades.
Yeah.
But, you know, they kind of spiraled out of control, and now it's more about a dynasty simulator in Europe. And then India and Northern Africa. And bits of China, too, now. Anyways, so 7 Centuries, it's basically an achievement you get for starting your dynasty at the earliest start date and lasting all the way up to the beginning of the Renaissance. Okay. And it's tough because, you know, your dynasty loses power, you're basically screwed. You marry too many of your cousins, and then you get too inbred, and you just can't make any more descendants after that. There's all kinds of diseases that can rack your world. The fucking Mongols. If you have the DLC, there's also the fucking Aztecs. Yeah, there's a DLC they had for like $4 called the Sunset Invasion. And basically, as a random event, an Aztec horde will sail across the ocean and land somewhere in Western Europe and just like kick the shit out of you.
That's a little
It's
weird.
Funny.
Is that actually based in history somewhere?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I think so, because like, didn't the Aztecs just sort of like stay there in Mexico?
Yeah, the Aztecs will land. They usually land in either France, Spain, or Great Britain. One time they landed in like Morocco, and that was funny.
Oh yeah, they're fucked. They're by themselves.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so the Aztecs will land, and then just like they will go a-conquering and sacrificing Christians to their pagan gods and whatnot. Standard pagan things. So there's a lot of things that can just take out your whole family during the course of 700 years. So it's kind of tough to keep the bloodline going and keep the dynasty alive.
Right.
But the first time I've done it a couple of times. The first time I did it as my favorite civilization to do, the Byzantines.
Okay.
And also during this playthrough, I actually restored the Roman Empire, and that was fun. Like I reconquered everything that was under the territory of Rome at its height, and renamed. And I had this event that renamed our country as the Roman Empire instead of as the Byzantine Empire.
Right.
And then instead of being called emperor, it was Caesar.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get like whoever the Caesar is gets a big vassal bonus to any vassal who is part of Rome's traditional territory. So that's neat. Anyways,
is there an achievement if you get assassinated called Et tu, Brute?
I don't know.
That'd be nice.
It's not hard to get assassinated.
Okay.
Anyways, but during the course of this playthrough, I had a pretty decent empire, so the Mongols weren't a problem.
Yeah.
The Aztecs ran into the wall that is the Abbasid Empire, and the Abbasids just declared a jihad against them and kicked the shit out of them, kicked them back across the sea. And then the Abbasids later ran into the Romans, and that didn't turn out so good for the non-Romans, I'll tell you that. So the Aztecs weren't a bother. But you know what really sucked? The plague.
Oh.
The plague.
I remember this story now. Yeah.
I had a late the plague can spawn anytime between like 1100 and like 1300 or so.
Yeah.
And so it spawned like at one of the latest start dates possible. And it just ripped through Europe. It actually like ping-ponged back and forth a couple of times. Because if a county has the plague, it can spread to a nearby county, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So it like went all the way across Europe and then went all the way back across, and it ping-ponged back and forth a couple of times.
Now,
so I was dealing with the plague. Go ahead.
This is the bubonic plague, right? It is the
yes,
okay.
yes, the Black Plague, yes. So I was dealing with the plague, and it ripped through, and it did a number on my dynasty, but then like all my counties, all of my important territories and counties, they recovered, and the plague moved on and went off to Russia, and who the fuck cares about Russia?
Masks, staying home, all the good stuff.
Yeah. So who cares about Russia? And Russia's got the plague now. So, but we survived.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is that when the plague rips through and just takes out your vassals' entire families, there is no one who can inherit the territory, so the emperor must take upon that burden upon himself.
Oh no.
So I gained a lot of territory.
Yeah.
I gained a lot of land because I was I was the closest living relative to a lot of people who died in the plague.
Oh boy.
So I give territory out to all my kids who aren't good enough to become emperor and all that jazz. But then the plague starts coming back, and by now I am the empress. And it's okay though. We've got a strong family. I've got like 7 brothers and sisters. They've all got families of their own and territories that they hold all throughout the Imperium. We're not all in one location, so someone's going to survive. I myself have like 13 kids. We'll be fine. We were not fine. I was 100 years, a century, so it's 2 lifetimes. Basically 2 lifetimes away from the end of the game. It's in sight. I've been hanging on by a thread. And, the Empress gets the plague, and I'm like, oh shit, she's dead. Well, that's okay. She's got a bunch of kids. Oh, crap. Half my brothers and sisters are dead of the plague. When the fuck did that happen? And all their kids are dead, too. That's okay. I've still got a bunch of kids. Oh, I'm pregnant. Great. That's wonderful. I'm like 45. How the hell?
Right.
So the Empress dies in childbirth, and because she died in childbirth, the last kid does not get legitimized because she wasn't alive to legitimize the kid.
Oh, that's some BS. Wow.
Yeah. Well, she wasn't married. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah. No, she wasn't married.
Still,
no, I was doing.
That's like my troll argument for. I'm sorry. Well ahead. This is something I came up with in high school, but I have a troll argument for abortion rights where people are like, the rights of the child and that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, technically they don't have rights because they aren't born in the U.S. So I'm sorry, it's a
Well,
troll answer. It's terrible. I know it. I came up with it as a stupid teenager. But go ahead. It's
well,
along those
so
lines.
I was doing the same BS as I described earlier,
Yeah.
where since I'm the empress, I'm just getting a whole bunch of vassal opinion by sleeping with all my vassals and remaining unmarried.
Mm-hmm.
So like all my kids are either bastards or legitimized bastards. So she dies in childbirth to this bastard, and because she's not around to legitimize him, and that sucks. And I play, so she dies in childbirth, and I play as her oldest son, and well, he's already got the plague, and he's got like pneumonia as well, so he's like dead like 2 minutes later. I think it was actually like a week later.
No, that's terrible.
Yeah. So like one after another, I play as like 5 or 6 different emperors within like 3 years, who just like they're just dropping like flies. I'm like, oh shit. So most of my dynasty is dead by the time I finally like get a hale, strong, like healthy character who isn't like sick of the plague.
Yeah.
And there's about 80 years left to go. But wouldn't you know it? There's a typhus outbreak in Rome. And everybody gets typhus and dies. And I'm just like desperately marrying off members of my dynasty because fuck it, I've got to get an heir. I've got to survive the next 60 years. And people are just dying left and right, and I can't keep anyone alive. And just as a one-off, that bastard that the empress died giving birth to, he's about 16, so I marry him off to some distant cousin. He's a bastard, yes, but he's still an emperor or empress's offspring, so it's still like a prestigious marriage. And I convinced this distant cousin to marry him, so their offspring will be legitimate heirs of the dynasty through their mother. Because she's wouldn't you know it? Everyone dies except for this bastard. Samuel, that was his name. Samuel the Bastard was his Emperor. Samuel the Bastard was his like title. And he ends up being being the sole survivor out of like everyone. He's the only one left alive, him and his like 3 kids.
Oh,
and yeah, and at the very end of the game, he is still like hanging on as like this decrepit 95-year-old emperor that like survived everything. All his relatives died, his entire family died, but this one like just he made it.
Mm-hmm.
He kept the family alive. He kept the bloodline going, and I was so relieved when I got that little pop-up that says that was like the age of crusades has come and gone, and new innovations are coming to the world, and things are changing, and the sun rises on a new day for the Roman Empire, or it's something like that where it pops up, and it was such a relief that he survived long enough to like keep the game going. Yeah. It was so tense.
Yeah, and he could die, like being 90 something, he could die any day. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like 90. And I was just so tense and scared that he was gonna die and like the game would be over. But nope, we made it.
Dang, yeah, I remember that story. That is insane. That is an insane way to get that achievement.
Yeah.
Whew, boy.
The fucking plague, man.
Yeah. So, my 5th one, which I actually switched my 4th and 5th, but I'll just talk about this. I've talked about this recently, I know, and this is where I got 8th in the world on War for Cybertron. I was in the leaderboards number 8 in the world, and I got too competitive and I had to put the game down. But there are some details about that I may not have mentioned. Part of it was most other people, they specialized in a class, and there was 4 classes if I remember correctly, and they were based on the type of vehicle you were. So So like you had heavies, which were tanks. You had trucks, which were I can't remember, but basically Optimus Prime type. You had trucks, tanks. You had cars, which were speed, and you had speed. I don't know. They also had jets, like Starscream. So like you had those four. So tanks, trucks, cars, and jets. And someone usually specialized in one of those classes. Like you're a jet player, you're a car player, whatever. I was the only person in the top 50 that I even had close to a even across the board games in all classes. So I also did this not playing a single class and getting good with one class. I did this literally every match. I would just play the next class and I would cycle like between every class. And so like I part of the achievement for me was the fact that I was also a well-balanced player on top of hitting the leaderboards. Whereas everyone else was like, "Hey, I'm exclusively a Starscream like player." You got to name your transformer, but um, I mean, don't get me wrong. There was a lot of Starscreams and Optimus Primes too. Like a lot of people named their stuff that. Um, but I just went by Fortune, and I believe. No, this is PS3. I was like, it could have been 360, but it was PS3 that I did that. But yeah, and it might have just been eighth in the world on PS3 too. I don't know if the leaderboards were stacked between the two. But what's up, Pan?
Nothing. Somebody just sent me this meme, this Crusader
Oh,
Kings meme.
gotcha.
It shows an after battle, like a battle summary,
Yeah.
and it's like 100 infantrymen apparently defeated 20,000 infantry and 1,200 cavalry. I don't know what the fuck happened here.
300. Sparta.
Apparently.
So I have this thing because of that movie, obviously, where I like to kick a door closed and scream Sparta because it's just funny to me. This rubbed off on my older daughter, and she kicked when she was 2. She kicked my basement door closed because I told her to close the basement door, please. And she was like, Sparta! And bam, kicks the door closed. And it was just like, it's just I have never been prouder as a father. This is the this is the height of being a father. I have done it. My I was still with my ex-wife at the time. She was not as appreciative as me on that achievement. But yeah, so the War for Cybertron. I don't know if a lot of people that played this game is the unfortunate part. It's like people played the story, I guess, because it was a decent game at that time, but like competitive wise for like multiplayer, just like whatever. It's not like there was only 50 people playing and I was 8th. There was hundreds of people at least, but still, I don't know. Competitively, it's the furthest I got. I would have also put Overwatch in here. It's hard to describe how to rank early Overwatch leagues because they've changed so much over the years, but I can relate to League of Legends pretty well because League of Legends, you have like gold and platinum leagues, and then you get into diamond where you're competitive and stuff. It would have been the equivalent of having gold, which is like what most quote unquote good players would get to, and then you would get like exceptional players in platinum, and then diamond is of course the competitive players that play for money. So the first 2 leagues of Overwatch, I actually had a crew of people. And we actually achieved higher end gold, higher end like almost into platinum where you could be scouted kind of deal, and that was actually really cool for us. But the group broke apart after like season 2. But
Womp womp.
yeah, and it was also really weird for me because at that time I had just started doing the writing for the articles, how we met Pan, the D&D stuff. So I hadn't been on. I'd been on Reddit for years before I started that, but like a little more communicative in the community of that kind of thing. So that's when I reached out and sort of formed this Overwatch team to play with people because a lot of my real life friends weren't into it. But the team I ended up forming, they were all high schoolers. And at that age, I was 26, 27.
Ooh.
And they gave me the nickname because I had a kid, Daddy Fortuan. So that was fun. And I was like, this is a little weird for me. A little weird. But
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun playing Overwatch with a bunch of high schoolers for a long time. But yeah, it was my only other competitive thing that I got, anywhere close in. And I'm just like kind of shoving another one in here along with War for Cybertron because I talked about the War for Cybertron recently. I did have one of my highest Reddit posts until me stepping down from r/Monster Hunter as a mod was a Farah clip of me shooting the entire team off a cliff with a single blast. She had like a push thing that didn't do damage, but it would just push you. And I pushed the entire team, excluding one person, off the cliff and killed them all. And then I went onto the point and ulted the one person and cleared the point and win. And it was like 1,000 upvotes on Reddit for that clip in the Overwatch one. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then me stepping down replaced that one. And then I never replaced that post on Reddit until I did my Orc article, which is also controversial. So there we go. For reference, Sasha, my I do ecologies sometimes on Reddit. It's how Pan and I met. Is me doing these D&D monster ecologies, and my most popular one was also my most controversial one for being both racist and really
Homophobic.
homophobic. Yeah. Spoilers, it was not racist or homophobic. It was just people taking steps way too far. So they accused me of such things for writing about orcs.
He basically gave the opinion that he did not see. Basically, most orcs are straight.
Yeah. In a highly religious society. So,
And
if they were straight, they probably wouldn't talk about it. If they weren't straight, they probably wouldn't talk about it.
I didn't realize people had such strong opinions about orcs.
Apparently they do.
Oh
Apparently
dear!
they do.
Oh my God!
I got right.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
Yeah, I was.
Also, it's kind of just generally racist to have to talk about orcs, because long story, but
they were mongrels from. Yeah, they were basically described as mongrels from Asia in the Tolkien books, and yeah, there's a lot of backstory.
That's problematic. Yeah, that's very problematic there. But most in a lot of fantasy stuff, like orcs are basically ye proud warrior race that rides horses from the steppes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they're the pig children in Elder Scrolls. There's a book about them.
That doesn't sound great either.
It's not. It's not. My brother always plays as an orc too, and
my only playthrough I finished in Skyrim was an orc. That is the only one that I actually beat the story. I think I talked about that recently though, with when Steve was on here last week, because I did the stealth build, but in heavy armor with a two-handed axe. So that was fun. Because, like, how do you not play stealth? It's just so easy to play stealth. You just control or press the crouch button. That's all you got to do, and just not get caught. But like, and then of course archery, which is so fun in Skyrim, of course. But yeah. Anyways, so yeah, Overwatch and Cybertron, because I shoved Overwatch into that one. So, number 5 for Sasha.
all right. Number 5 for me will be when I completed Mass Effect 3. There were 3 achievements on here that were tough for me. Looking up at, let me find the Mass Effect 3 actual numbers for you too. But part of the reason why Mass Effect 3 was a challenge for me to complete was that I played it when it first came out. and it was really buggy with the data trackers.
Yeah.
So one of the achievements was to kill 5,000 enemies. And it could be in single player, multiplayer, combined. And my tracker reset, I think 3 times. One of the times I was in the 4,000s when it reset.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that actually was the last achievement for me, was the 5,000 enemies killed, and I had already beat the game on insanity and played through on multiplayer a bunch, and yeah. So I was
Oof.
just playing and playing and playing, trying to get that 5,000. One part of the insanity run through was really challenging for me, where I thought, is this game going to break me? Am I going to break the game? And it was when you're recruiting the Asaris for the cause, and you go through and you have to fight 2 banshees at the same time. And the banshees have this they have biotic powers as well, and they have this warp charge attack that they do to you. And on insanity, it's a one-shot attack. So they're both doing it to you, and I just remember that the strategy that finally worked for me to beat this was to just run back and forth up and down this small map that they gave you for the boss fight. So it's just running back and forth, run, reload, wait for all of your abilities to reset, do them all, and then run to the end and wait for everything to reload again. But I probably failed this fight 10, 20 times. I'm not sure.
Whew.
I had to shut it off, come back to it another day because I was so frustrated.
Yeah, I've
But
done some of those fights. Yeah.
yeah, but so let's see. Mass Effect 3 has a 9% completion on Xbox.
13 for PlayStation, I'm seeing.
Yep, and Insanity was the highest one. 15% completed the game on Insanity.
Oh, it's same
And
on
so for Mass
PlayStation.
Effect, you do have to beat it at least twice for that, because Insanity is not a playable option on your first through.
Phew.
Yeah.
And
Mass
hopefully
Effect's not a short game.
you would have got the 5,000 enemies through that 2 playthroughs, but I guess not.
No, I didn't.
Oh man. Some of these don't
And
look
then the
so
other,
bad, but yeah, geez.
they're not. None of them were too difficult, rarity wise.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that was hard was Unwavering, and you needed to either finish the multiplayer maps on Gold or all single player missions on Insanity. So I had ultimately unlocked both of those at the same time, Insanity and Unwavering. But I was close to doing the or the multiplayer maps on Gold. That
Okay.
was a very popular game for
Yeah.
multiplayer.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people talking really good about that multiplayer.
It was a lot of fun. I did not love it so much when Andromeda came out. It was basically the same thing again, but I don't know. Andromeda just didn't. I didn't have the same love for Andromeda as I did for Mastery.
No, not a lot of people did. I remember the animation controversy with Andromeda, where Andromeda was just like terrible in comparison to even previous games.
Yeah, I think Steve and I tried to play it for about an hour and a half right around launch.
Mm-hmm.
We gave up and never went back.
Now, supposedly they've fixed it since. That's what I've heard. But so
They did.
did you? I remember there being a lot of controversy for the ending of Mass Effect 3. Were you not happy about that as well?
I wasn't as upset about it. If I'm gonna give an unpopular opinion here, I
Sure.
think that people that were upset about the ending of Mass Effect 3 didn't understand the ending of Mass Effect 3.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't know. I
Uh,
never played any of them aside from I played 2 a little bit, I think.
I think that it's an intentionally ambiguous ending.
Sure.
which is not uncommon for a lot of science fiction.
Yeah.
It's left for you to kind of make a decision about, does Shepard survive or did you make the best choice? I
Mm-hmm.
think what people don't like is that
They
at
don't
the end
have
of
an
the day, it's
answer.
this like red and green or blue choice that you're making. But I liked the ending because it wasn't just about like this very last decision that Shepard made. The game to me was wrapped up with all of the story you were doing. Did you or did you not cure the genophage? Did you or did you not like help the Krogans, or did Rex even make it to Mass Effect 3? Which character did you leave behind in Vermeer? And what were the implications of that? Did you leave the Quarian ships behind? That was the stuff that was more important to me than
Sure.
that last decision for Shepard.
Yeah. I remember so many people being mad about it. Um, but I just don't like. I never got into it. I never got into the series because it's unfortunately part of the genre I don't like. Space sci-fi. I'm not. It's like one of my least favorite genres. So, but yeah, it was it was a big thing for a long time. That ending. And even my good friend who really loves that series would talk about it all the time with me. He's like, "No, you don't understand, man. You don't understand. Like, like, I don't actually remember it. I think he ended up waiting until they went and fixed the ending, and then finished it.
So I always, for every game that has like a clean wrap up and they give you kind of end credits and they tell you like how all of your decisions, what
Mm-hmm.
were the bigger ripple effects for that, I always have a separate save file so that I can, if I wanted to, I could go back and
Sure.
watch it again. So I had done that with Mass Effect 3. So when they fixed it, I went back through and like played it again. It it wasn't it wasn't that much different. I feel like all that they did was like reduce a little bit of the ambiguity, and for people to be like, okay, well when I pick this color, then there's no AI ever again, and when I pick this color, then AI exists, but there are friends. And that to me was more stupid than the original ending.
Sure. Okay. I could see that because it's now just making everything black and white instead of gray. Yeah.
I feel like there's overall kind of a tendency for people to be disappointed with when large franchises come to an end.
Sure. Yeah.
That this is how people were when like Lost ended. This is how people felt about Game of Thrones. Everybody has strong opinions.
Game of Thrones has a lot of reasons why people didn't like that last season, though. It's not just how it ended.
So I mean, even if you're going like through like the books,
Yeah.
there's problems with the fifth book.
Oh
There are
yeah.
some problems. Yeah.
Sure. I wouldn't know. I didn't read the books, but yeah, and I agree, and it's also the bigger a franchise gets, also the more people get angry because it didn't end the way or go the way that I expected it to go. Kind of mentality as well. I feel a lot of the time, like again, I'm going to reference Diablo 3, and it had a lot of problems with as far as execution of the story, um, and that kind of thing. I think overall, my opinion of the story is very high, especially in comparison to other people, because there's a lot of good lore implications that Diablo 3 brought up. But the larger picture, but like a lot of people were very upset the quote unquote Deckard Cain was killed by a Power Ranger villain. Um, and if you played that game, Pan, I don't know, I don't think you've played it, but Magda looks like Rita Repulsa, and she,
That's a solid villain design.
um, she kind of acts like her too. Very like, hey, I'm actually working for a bigger dude, but I'm super important anyways. Um, and she kills like one of the most beloved characters in the franchise, Deckard Cain, which is the guy that goes like, "Stay a while and listen." Like he's the guy that identifies items and stuff. And she kills him by throwing butterflies on him, and people just could not handle that. Like these death butterflies killing him was just like an
She looks more
unfathomable
like
sin.
she looks more like Maleficent than anything.
It's true, but I was just saying, like, people in long-standing franchises get really upset when things don't go their way. Like, oh, that's not how I would have done it. And here's the funny, this is my favorite thing to point out to everyone all the time. They always blame Chris Metzen for like ruining Diablo's story. And if you guys know, Chris Metzen's one of the people that left. He didn't leave during the allegations. He left years before. Doesn't mean he was exempt from the allegations, but he left years before. Um, so it doesn't look as suspicious, I suppose. But people don't realize that he wrote the story for 1 and 2 as well. And they just assume that the old studio wrote the story. And the old studio is the people who made Torchlight, who basically said, fuck story. Like, like in general, just like, I don't care about story. And not that Torchlight doesn't have a story. I'm just saying it's not as overarching and epic as Diablo's was.
So it's kind of a damn Scots, you ruined Scotland.
Basically, yeah, like that's one of my favorite things when people bring up how they don't like that story. It's just like, oh, Chris Metzen ruined it. And like, you realize he wrote the first 2 parts as well, right? Like, it was all him all along. And he's also the guy that wrote all the World of Warcraft stuff too for a long time. I don't know when he left to deal with that, but like, it's like the same guy everywhere. I don't but yeah, Mass Effect, controversial ending as well, and it's hard to find a series where people really like how it ends. I don't have a lot of context because I don't finish a lot of popular shows. Like, I'd never seen Game of Thrones until last year, I think.
Well, this next Dragon Age game that's going to come out, I think we might find out if this is going to tie the story up neatly or if people are going to be angry.
People were angry at Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2, well, people hated that one.
But they weren't angry about the story. They were angry that the game was $60 with the same 3 maps.
That's fair. I played 2. Yeah, it is essentially the same 3 maps. Dude, I have that cave. I bet you I could memorize the cave map. Like, I bet you I could walk through with my eyes closed now. And I played that thing in, like, 2011. Like...
I know exactly where that Cerebos is hiding. You got to get him out first on higher difficulties or you're wiped. Your whole party's wiped.
Like, yeah. But, no, yeah. I mean, yeah, 2 is the one I played the most. I never played Inquisition or is there a 3? Was Inquisition 3 or 4?
Inquisition is 3.
Okay.
I mean, you know, Origins is my favorite. Inquisition is a really good game, though. It is a technically sound game. Even on the console, it's very good.
Yeah, it's just 2 basically sacrificed everything to make it easier to play, which is why I like 2. I could play it.
2 felt to me like almost just like it would have been easier to read a novelization to build between Origins and Inquisition.
Yeah.
Like skip all the repetitive maps and get all the lore.
Yeah, there was a lot of lore in it. That's for sure. There was. There's a lot of the stuff about the elves in that one. I remember quite a bit. Yeah. So, that was number 5 for Sasha. So, Pan, I guess your last one.
I've been trying really hard to come up with stuff that isn't Crusader Kings.
Well, you do play a lot of that, to be fair.
But I have played a lot of it.
Yeah.
There's some really obscure achievements, and the stories behind the achievements are really good.
That's fair. They are good stories.
So, with that, I will tell you how I basically got to a point in Crusader Kings 2 where I just kind of had to make my own fun.
Yeah.
And so I decided, I started this save with the goal of basically getting a Saeed elected pope. Now, Saeed is a title given to characters in the game who descend from the Prophet Muhammad.
Oh. Okay.
So there are early, like in the early Middle Ages, there are various rulers in Arabia who historically claim descent to the Prophet or from the Prophet through one of his daughters.
Okay.
So the heads of the Abbasid Caliphate are basically a prime example of that. So the nice thing is, so long as the Abbasid dynasty doesn't get ground into the ground during the Crusades, there are lots of Abbasids around, and they tend to marry into the other. Muslim royal families.
Right.
So there are lots and lots and lots of Abbasids. Oh, sorry. There's one other thing. The Sayyid trait is a patrilineal thing. So a female character can be a Sayyid, but she cannot give any of her children the Sayyid trait. So it has to be an unbroken male line. So it's also very, very, very difficult to pull off an interfaith marriage, especially between Muslims and Catholics in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, I could.
Most of the Muslim rulers won't talk to you. So, what I did was, I just wanted to do this for funsies. So what I did was I started off as basically some kingdom in Spain. I don't remember what the name of the kingdom was. But the point is that I united Christian Spain, and then I started reconquisting the rest of Spain and driving the Moors out of Spain.
Okay.
Establishing myself as basically a major European power. Because the more Catholic holy sites you own, the more influence you can have over who becomes the Pope. So I basically conquered all of Spain, became the head of, became the most powerful Christian ruler on the map.
Okay.
And then I went out and went way out of my way to gain all the Catholic holy sites within my territory, which means one of them's the county of Canterbury in England.
Mm-hmm.
There is, of course, Jerusalem and Antioch and Rome. The crappy thing is that it was really hard to hold on to Canterbury because the King of England kept getting really pissed at me for having this one random county in the middle of England.
Oh, well, yeah.
And it's not easy to hold on to Jerusalem because everybody wants a piece of Jerusalem.
Fair.
And Rome was actually super easy. I mean, the Pope got really, really mad at me for conquering Rome and then kicking him out of Rome. But I gave it right back to him so long as he swore to be my vassal. So, that gave me a lot of control over, that gave me a lot of points towards, who's getting elected Pope. Because basically, if you hold enough sway within Christian Europe, you can basically throw points at whoever is up for election, right?
Yeah.
So, once I had all of Christian Europe under my thumb, now is time for phase 2. Which is I need to get a Sayyid character, and I need to make them a Christian. So this is actually this part was way easier because everybody wants a piece of Jerusalem. The Muslims, the various Muslim dynasties in basically the Middle East and Northern Africa kept attacking me because they wanted to get me the hell out of Jerusalem. So, during the course of one of my wars, I lay siege to Mecca, and I capture a whole bunch of the Caliph's children. So, he tries to ransom them, and I ransom most of them. But there's three sons of the Caliph that are in my prison. I put them under house arrest instead of prison, so that they're housed nicely and they're not going to get sick in prison. And I give them all very good Christian education, so that they convert. 2 of the 3 convert. And as you know, as soon as they turn 16, they're adults, and there's no longer risk of them converting. So I just sent them back home. I sent the one that didn't convert back home, but the two who did convert, I now that they were 16 and they were adults, I was able to get them betrothed to my kids.
Mm.
And because they were my prisoners, their dad, who is the caliph, couldn't do anything about it.
Mm. Okay.
So I get these two Abbasid princes betrothed to my daughters. I set up one of my daughters so that she's going to inherit Spain and become the Empress of Spain. Their kids are all Saids because their dad, she marries this Muslim prince that I captured, and now he's a Christian, and their kids are Saids. And out of my boy, I die. I'm now the girl, the Empress of Spain. Out of all my sons, one of them, he's got a lot of good Christian traits, like he is just and fair and patient and temperate. He'd actually make a really good emperor. But I want to set him up to be the Pope because now he's a Said.
Mm-hmm.
So I force him to join the church and become a monk. And then because he is a priest, I give him one of my, I just give him a county. It counts as giving the county to the church. It gives me a whole bunch of friendliness points with the Pope. And I basically, because my son is now a powerful bishop, he is up for election to become the Pope. And I throw all my points and so much money into his campaign to become the Pope.
Yeah.
So when the old Pope dies, my son becomes the Pope, and he is a Sayyid, and now I have a descendant of the Prophet as the head of the Catholic Church. And I was so happy.
It's a lot. See, all of these take a lot of setup and a lot of knowledge of this game that I would never be able to obtain. I can't. Oh boy. Jeez. There's a lot. Like the having to capture them as prisoners and then marry them in as prisoners is like, what?
Well, at first I had to convert them to Christianity because I couldn't marry them into my dynasty while they were Muslim.
Fair. Yes. Okay.
So I had to basically force them. You can't force them, but what you can do is if there's a child in your court, you can assign someone to educate them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always a random chance that the person converts to the religion and culture of their educator.
Ah. So that's what you did.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, throughout, because of all this other bullshit, the old caliph died, my father-in-law. My sons inherited claims on the Abbasid Empire.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's how and then I spent the next 60 years fighting the Abbasid dynasty for my rightful place on the throne.
Sure. Cuz you could. Yeah. Okay. Oh wow. So Pan, I have a number 6 and I wasn't going to I was going to put this as an honorable mention. But Sasha suggested I shouldn't. And I'm going to demonstrate this so people can see. So I got first and second place. Now granted it's 50cc, but both first and second place in Mario Kart 8 controlling 2 characters at the same time. And I did this last Sunday because the girls and I were playing Mario Kart 8 and Amory was like, I'm done playing. I'm tired of losing. And I was literally playing bodyguard for her. I would drive behind her, shoot anyone that got near her, and try to get her further up. She ended up getting third for me helping her out. But I was just like, okay, we're just gonna do this. And then she was like, no, play for me, Daddy. He's like, but I gotta race my. He's just like, do both. And I was like, do both. Okay, I'll do both. So the end of this, we only did one circuit of this, where I'm playing Shy Guy Black and Shy Guy Pink, and CC is playing Shy Guy Red, I think. And the 3 of us got first, second, and third, with me getting first and second, and CC getting third. Um, and I did this on, like I said, 50cc, but it helps that Mario Kart you can have auto drive on. So like you can just not have to press the go button. It'll just keep going continuously. And it also has like a kiddie lane thing, like a bumper thing where it lets you go off the cliff, I guess. So I had to use those. So granted, it's not like some mastermind achievement, but I still did it. And I did it. One controller was held like this, so left hand over the stick and left on the trigger. And the other one has to go across it, so this is the left stick and the left trigger. And left stick is steering, of course, left trigger is items. So I would drive, and the way I would do it, because it's split screen between the three of us, I would actually look at the person furthest back on the screen and control them both. And it, trust me, when you start lapping yourself, because when you're driving behind someone, you get a boost, and you boost in front of them, that air boost. So it was very hard for me to figure it out like mentally. And we didn't do like course one. Like the last one was like Wario's something. I can't remember what it is, but it's basically a downhill slope track on ice. So it's like one of the harder maps, and it's actually one of the ones that doesn't have laps. It has checkpoints. So lap 2 is actually just a different section down the mountain. But I'm normally really good at boosting and drifting and all this kind of stuff, and it was a total different way to play. And I was just like two controllers at the same time, just going through playing. And Cece was cracking up, Emery's cracking up, and she's like, "Look, I won!" Because she was Pink Shy Guy when she played, and Pink Shy Guy is the one just coincidentally gotten first. And here's the thing: it's by points, and like first place gets 15 points and yada yada. The the points were, I think it was like 47-47, so we were literally tied for first and second. And then Cece got 46, so she was third. So she was like barely not the same. So that was my Mario Kart 8 achievement last Sunday. And it was tough, but there is no such achievement because that's not something controlled within the game. Oops, I think we lost Sasha. So yeah, there's that one. When she's back. Did you have another one to talk about, Sasha? Oh.
I mean, I think we can wrap it up. I don't have anything super great that I didn't already talk about.
Okay.
On a previous episode recently.
Okay. I do have one more that I don't want to skip, and I won't go into super detail about it. But Pan, you were aware of me doing this at the time because I had streamed it, but I know you didn't watch it or anything. And it was literally just beating Doom 2016's Ancient Gods Part 1. I did that on stream. It took me upwards of 3 hours per level because I did it on Ultra Violence, which Ultra Violence is the second to hardest difficulty. People do this all the time on Nightmare and higher, with Nightmare being the worst one. And of course they do it in Ultra Nightmare where one death you have to start all over. But this was a very tough thing for me to do, and I did it on stream. The only time I've streamed something recently, and I know that Ace was there watching at the time. Some other people, I think Morg was at the time watching as well, where I was literally just pouring sweat trying to finish this game. Like I was like just every day, every time I did it, and it took I streamed on Wednesday, so like it took me 3 weeks to finish it, and it's only 3 levels. So like I every stream was like 3 hours long because it took me that long to finish the level, like deaths and all this kind of stuff, and it was just insanely difficult. It is the most difficult thing as far as like gameplay I have ever done, probably aside. Like Adult Call, I could have got it with another try. It just was difficult because I got it on first try. This one was like a trial and error for 3 hours. I remember. Was it Ancient Gods Part 1? There's basically, just to describe what happens, normally in a game, you see a cyber demon, you're like, oh no, cyber demon, holy cow, give me some space. Giant minotaur with a rocket launcher for an arm. And you're like, okay, we gotta kill this. It has the most HP of any enemy. It's a very tough thing to deal with. They basically shove you in a broom closet with one. It's not that small, but it feels like a broom closet with one. It's a narrow T hallway, and he's at the intersection of the T. And you're like, what? What now? And of course, there's other monsters around him at the time. You're like, how do I do this? Like, stuff like that is what you had to deal with in part 1. And then part 2 is easier for some reason. It feels backwards. It should have been part 2 was harder, but whatever. Yeah, that's my last one. So, Doom 2, or Doom Eternal. Yeah, I'm going to look that up. I don't know. I bet you a lot of people completed it, but Doom. Oops, Eternal. I bet you that one's like, oh yeah, no, 421. Everyone's done that one. Screw you. It's yeah okay. Ancient Gods Part 1. Complete. Okay. So yeah, it's a 71% achievement rate of people beating this. Now I don't think it's Ultra Nightmare or it says which difficulty, but still, yeah, like the first level that I was so concerned about, it's 100% achievement. Everyone beat the first level.
Well, they have to track it. They have to unlock at least one of the achievements in the pack. If they don't unlock any achievements, then it won't. So there will always be one with 100%.
Okay, that's fair. That is a good point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's not like it was that difficult for everyone, but for me it was really tough. Like I was full on sweating and stuff. So that's it for our achievements episode. I had to think a lot about this because like at first I was like, I only have like 3. Like I'm gonna think of 3 off the top of my head. Like, but the more you think about it, the more you go. I didn't really have a lot that are tied to real trophies and stuff. As much as I like to go 100% on games, I am very choosy on which games I go 100% on. Very choosy. And I mean, heck, I don't even do that for Monster Hunter for a long time until I didn't 100% Rise. Not we were doing the crown hunting, my brother and I. We're like, this is stupid. We're done for now. And that'd be 100% if I finished it, because I've done everything else.
I was gonna say, well, you took a good whack at sending the Yagis into extinction, so
Oh yeah, the boggies. Oh my.
Or boggies, yeah.
The great boggies. So, to explain to you, Sasha, I think I've explained this before, but the random chance of crown hunting is smallest possible size of a monster and largest possible size, and it's entirely random. Entirely so. But we figured out the hard way that there are certain quests that are impossible to get the smallest or largest size. It is just locked out. So there's not ways.
They don't spawn during that quest.
It's not possible.
They farmed that quest for a week.
We did.
Trying to get crowns. They killed something like 2,000 great boggies.
No, it was not 2,000. It was 224 when we finally got it.
Okay.
Now, granted,
yeah,
this is like a 10-minute quest. So do that. And it was a double boggy for a majority of it. So let's just take out the 24, right? So we did 100 of these quests at least. 100. And I'm not done. We have not finished. We have not finished the full roster, which is like 60 something monsters to do this with. It's just not. We gave up. I think we're on Somnicanth right now, and we just haven't finished. And it turns out there are crowns for the super ultra hard monsters that came out too, the Apex monsters. So, not looking forward to that either. But hey, Harry, here we are. So next week, I don't think we have any solid plans on what that is next week, but we'll figure it out. Of course, there always could be some crazy breaking news like the Blizzard stuff that happened over the last couple of weeks, although that seems to have calmed down. I haven't heard a lot more about that. I think the only thing that happened since we talked was they ended up firing the head of WoW and two people in the Diablo team as a result of these allegations. So my things about the Diablo team not being at fault were entirely not true. The game director is now on its third game director for Diablo before Diablo 4 launches. So they got rid of the game director and someone else on that team. I don't remember who. But yeah. So delays might be incoming. But yeah, other than that, seems like Vicarious Visions was unaffected, which is the people doing Diablo 2 remake, which the beta released this weekend, and I played 10 minutes of it and I was done. Yeah, it's Diablo 2. Cool. I'll play it when it launches. So yeah, we'll figure out something next week. Thank you guys for coming on. I know it's late, 11:30 here, so 10:30 your time. We all had. Actually, I didn't have kid interruptions this time. It's crazy. I gotta check if they're alive after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Be sure to catch updates at Hunters Hub Pod on Twitter and watch here on Twitch at also Hunters Hub Pod. And we'll have the audio out for this fairly soon. I've been really good about getting this out by like the next day at the latest. So I think last week I waited an extra day though because I had the kids. So we might be able to get it out sooner. Because now I'm taking the kids back on Sundays instead of like I did Tuesday. Because school season has started. School is back in session. So I don't get the extra day. Darn it. Anyways. Thank you guys for listening. Anything else to say about you two? Sasha or Pan? Anything else to add?
Night night.
All right.
No.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.